What are your standards when it comes to men?
They're high, but at the same time, they're kind of low. With men, you just don't know what to expect. So they're high, but they're kind of low.
I got that dish. Got that. I got that dish. 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 I got that dish. I got that dish. That dish.
Hey y'all, it's Onika
And J.R.
and you are dishing with Dainty Dish. How you doing, J.R.?
I'm doing okay. I've got a little bit of a sprain.
I saw that.
Me, I've got my foot elevated.
Had rice. Rest, ice, compression, elevate.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I'm just kind of keeping my foot up. I had a little twist in dodgeball. So,
wiffle ball? Was it wiffle ball?
What is this wiffle ball you talk about? Stop calling things
it's
wiffle
something
ball.
from Harry Potter.
Okay, well, you can throw Harry Potter in a bush, okay? I was dodging a dot ball, and I, kind of like twisted funny. It was kind of weird, but I got it checked out because I want to make sure I'm at Caravana next weekend. So, yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm going to be living my life.
Are you living your best life?
I'm going to keep living my best life. I mean, I don't think I said it on the podcast, but I was taking like a little bit of like a comedy, I took a comedy class.
You're taking it?
No, I took a stand-up class.
You took a stand-up class?
I took one. I never mentioned it on the podcast. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think so. I kind of took one, and I did a performance back in June. So I don't know. I'm kind of like, ooh, I'm trying to I got confidence now. So I'm like kind of trying to jump into the open mic circuit. So
okay, when we go to NYC.
No, I'm doing it in Toronto.
You're doing it in Toronto? Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, like why wait?
NYC, they'll eat you alive.
You have that's the thing. That's the one thing. That's why one reason I'm happy I went to comedy class, like stand up class, because the one thing the guy taught us was like, don't tell your family you're doing anything just because they're just haters. And he was right,
I'm not trying to be a hater.
No, you're a hater, but it's okay. It's okay. You gotta see.
It's all jokes. I heard that set that you did though. You shared it with me, and I was dying. There only was like one part that I didn't laugh, but the rest of it, I was pretty like, okay, this is dope. Yeah,
so, it's all writing. Like I'm a pretty good writer, so
this is dope. I was crying. I was laughing. I was a Kevin Hart crying, but I was. You gotta have
goals. You gotta have goals.
You gotta chuckle out of me.
I gotta chuckle.
You gotta chuckle.
Okay, well, it's all about improvement. But anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Work is okay. It's long. It's exhausting, but it's work. It is what it is. Going through a bit of a transition right now with my medication, which is causing a lot of unrest in my life. I asked my doctor to lower my sleep meds.
Okay, so
that's
why.
I'm a little too dependent on them.
Because I called you today. It was like 11:30 in the morning, and you were still in bed.
I was like dead asleep because it takes me I'll take them at let's say 12, and I'm not sleeping until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So it's become a bit of a problem. I'm gonna see him next week and talk to him about it, see what I should do.
So wouldn't it be better to take them earlier?
I can't because of work.
Oh, you can't take it while you're at work and then just go home?
No, I'm not taking my stuff to work with me like that, so I can't
take
it. Like my blister pack, I'm just gonna pack it in my bag and roll up to work with it. No,
that's.
I picked a set time just because usually it makes me very sleepy around that time, but because he's lowered the dosage, it's kind of a little bit wonky. But I'm not gonna lose my shit or anything. I'm good.
Okay. Well, I mean, as long as you're good. I mean, I've never actually experienced sleeplessness. I can pretty much sleep through anything.
Sleeplessness can cause a lot of issues, and I know we're speaking on mental health right now, and I know you wanted to talk about.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things that are going on here at home in Toronto right now. I mean, we're seeing a lot of shootings, which is not cool at all. I mean, and I don't know. I'm around the city all the time now. I'm doing a lot of extracurricular activities.
Absolutely.
I'm around a lot of different people, and the consensus that we have is Toronto has been safe, is safe, and we believe it will remain safe. But there seems to be some sort of
wave of violence,
but also propaganda. I think in the media, and I know you and I have not really talked about like the gun violence because it really hasn't come up in our day to day because it really, I hate to say this, but it really hasn't affected us.
No.
And I mean, I live like downtown core, like
the core,
like, you know, I'm around.
I live in the ghetto, so you know I'm always hearing gunshots.
You know, I'm around the corner from the tourist areas, so if something's going on, like it's gonna affect me, and nothing really has so far. But a lot of the shootings have been in places where you're like, really, really, what that area, really, like these areas are.
How did that happen?
These areas are notoriously safe, you know. But the one that really I figured really jumped out at me was the one that happened. I think it was last week now, where on Danforth there was that the young gentleman, Faisal Hussein, I believe his name was. He went on a shooting spree of sorts, where there were unfortunately two young girls that were killed, one 18, one 10, and there was about 13 other people between the ages of 10 and 59 that were, I guess, received some sort of injury. I'm not sure what kind. I didn't look into it to that level. This gentleman, there seemed to be the initial like I saw some live coverage. I was around a TV at the time. And they immediately jumped on a mental health. This kid had mental health issues, you know. His family put out a report saying he was suffering from, you know, psychosis, and you know, I feel like it was kind of like later on it became like the cop out. So I wanted to know like what your perspective was on it as someone who is has mental health issues, and the one thing that I really stood out to me was that when in one of the previous podcasts that we had, I don't know, I'm not sure which episode it was, but you spoke about how you were in the system as someone who's been picked up by the police. For mental health, from a mental health.
The Mental
issue.
Health Act.
So the mental
allows
health
them to pick us up off the streets and take us in.
You're someone who has firsthand had that experience of the police, you know, helping you get to a safe space where you can recover. You know, they become essentially a liaison to getting you to a recovery facility. And I didn't like the way that they kind of dug up this kid's, because he's 18.
He's 29.
He's 29. Sorry,
but he's still considered a young, youth.
No. They brought up things from his youth prior to 18 where he was picked up due to the Mental Health Act. So that's what I meant to say.
Sorry.
And I didn't like the way they dug into his past on to pick up those specific things, because now they're kind of making a correlation between people with a mental health condition and violence. And I don't think that most people with a mental health condition are violent. Like, I mean, I don't like the way that connection was made. And I want to know, how did you see that connection? I'm not sure how deeply you're following it, and how do you feel?
I did see that connection and how they tried to make that connection. I mean, I've been picked up by the police in some very precarious situations, none of which had escalated to violence. And I was taken into the hospital. Now, with this young man, it seems to me as if the mental health, because there's two issues right now. There's gun violence, and then there's mental health. And the gun violence that's happening in Toronto, yes, this was an isolated incident where someone with a mental health issue was the cause of the gun violence. That's what I feel has happened. And now they're making it seem as if people with mental health issues are going to be violent and shouldn't have access to certain things, and they should have access to other things to help them, you know, through their journey. So with this young man, he suffered from, according to the news, depression and psychosis, which could present itself in many different forms. It can present itself in a violent form, and for him it did. They said that he had an obsession with Batman, and he was, obsessed with violence.
This is all alleged.
This is all alleged. Sorry about that. Yeah. This is all alleged. But the fact remains, he was someone who was in the mental health system, and I think the system failed him. It it got to a point where he wasn't probably getting the help. And again, I can't say because I'm not in this person's life. I'm not in this person's family's life. I don't know what was going on with this person. But for it to escalate to the point where he has access to a gun, gets a gun, goes and shoots people, that to me says that the system, the mental health care system, has failed him. Something in that system has gone wrong. There's been a break or some kind of a disconnect in that system that has caused this to happen.
Well, I think there's two breaks then, because you're correct on that the mental health system was broken, but then there's the system of guns was broken, because I mean, it was a handgun that he was using. You can't you can buy rifles. From my understanding, you can get rifles is for hunting and stuff in Canada, but handguns, you can't get those unless you're a armed peace officer, I believe. Like, right, so like cops, I guess like private security officers. I'm not sure if they can carry weapons in Canada or not, but there's a problem here with guns. Like, there's this, our city has an influx of guns right now, and
it's coming from across the border.
Okay, fair enough. If
It's coming from across the border.
But
That's going to be my assumption.
I remember we were chatting about this maybe a couple weeks ago, and you said that a lot of the times you feel that it's like in Toronto we try and follow
after what Americans are doing,
the image, the perception of what we believe is cool because of what is seen in from content, American content.
Yeah,
right.
I think that I think whatever's trending in the States then starts to trend in Canada. I think our cousins to the south, there's a lot of violence going on in America. We know this. Like, we see it on the news. If we watch the news, it's there.
Okay, but
it's clear and it's present.
Okay, but now let's take a look at this and say from the vantage point of us. We see how the violence is being portrayed in Toronto right now in the media.
Sensationalized.
Right? Can we say that, okay, is there a possibility that the violence is being sensationalized in the US as well? Is it plausible?
It's plausible. I think when it comes to gun violence, I think that I hate to say it this way, but because it's sexy there, it's sexy here.
What do you mean?
Like, because it's something on the tip of everyone's tongues over in the States, it's going to be on the tip of ours right now in Canada.
Oh, like they're going through
their whole changes with guns,
possibly a revolution type of thing.
Yeah, so it's hot right now in America. It's hot.
Yeah,
just like the war on drugs was hot in the 80s, and then it became I feel like in Canada we're not there. I don't necessarily think.
We're too small.
We're small.
Populace wise, we're too small.
So if there's a shooting, we're gonna hear about it. It's gonna be a huge deal. But I really think they're blowing it even more so out of proportion than like.
Well, no, it's
they
bad.
normally would.
It's bad.
It's getting bad.
I never thought, like, you never really hear about shootings in Toronto. Like, growing up, I never heard about them. I mean, the average before this year, they said there was there was about average of 16 by this time of year, and now there's like 29 this year or something like that.
But these things grow incrementally every single year. Like, if we look at the stats 3 years ago, then 4 years ago, then 5 years ago, you're going to see an incremental growth in violence, in gun violence in the city. You're going to see that.
And that number is not telling you the percentage based on the population.
No.
Right.
So it's giving you, it's not fake news,
but it's telling you the story the way you want it.
How they want you to hear the story.
Like when you first take a class like in university and you learn how to write, that paper where you're using all the statistics. You're like, oh, I want to say this. Well, let me say this. Let me pull this one out there. And okay.
That's kind of what I feel. It's like, and it's two entirely separate issues that they're globbing together. They're saying this is, it's mental health, and this guy had an illness, and then he caused this gun violence, and the two issues need to be separated, because I'm sure the majority of, if we look into those 29 deaths, they're like very small percentage of them had to do with mental health. So I want us to start looking at the mental health system and how it's failing people. and how it's failing these young people with schizophrenia, people with psychosis, people with bipolar, how it's failing us by not providing us with the care that we need. I'm lucky. I am a fortunate person. I am blessed in the fact that I got connected with a hospital that then got me connected with like copious amounts of resources that I now have at my disposal. But I also advocated and fought for myself in the institution and outside of the institution. You know, I made sure, and when people don't do that for themselves, and a lot of people just don't know how. You know, when people don't do that for themselves, they're not getting squat.
That's true.
They're not getting the help that their loved one needs to progress and to become better in their illness. And that's the problem. That's how this Hussein guy it escalated to this gun violence. It was the breakdown to me in the mental health care system. We need to put more money into the mental health care system. We need to put more time, and we need to stop again what they talked about stigma too. We need to stop the stigma. He was a minority, you know, and
yeah, I mean the Muslim community has the same stigma as you know, the black community. Like it's just any immigrant, you know, any minority community. It's just that same stigma.
Pray the cray away.
Exactly.
Yeah, like,
exactly.
And that's gotta stop. We need to start educating people. Like it's important. It's important.
Yeah, there's so much stress out there just for young people in general. Like there's the competition, just everything being so out there. I mean,
social media.
Like I mean, I was lucky enough. Social media didn't come around till I was my
old enough to handle it.
I was old enough to handle it, exactly. And I was able to make a choice and say, you know what, I don't really want to join this, and it was fine, you know. And I got to go almost a decade and not have to deal with it. And then you decide, hey, you know what, now I'm gonna try it now. I'm a bit older. I totally understand what it does, what it is, and I had that opportunity. But a lot of the young people, like, they were thrown right into it, you know.
And it causes problems, like the whole system.
Because you're comparing, when we were young, you're comparing yourself to, I don't know, for me, you compare everyone to your circle of people that are around you. So you compare yourself to your not even necessarily your influence, but like you compare yourself to the other kids in school, in elementary school, right? So, and then you go off to middle school, and there's a whole new set of group of people, and you kind of like readjust, yourself into that hierarchy. And then you go off to high school, and you readjust yourself in that hierarchy again. And then you go off to, post-secondary or whatever you do. And then when you do that, you kind of find people that are just like you. Right? And you have that opportunity to kind of navigate throughout those years. But now, like, you're bombarded from day one. You got to, like, pick who you're with. And if you're not with the right people, you're going to be bombarded. Yeah.
And I think more so, it's not even picking the right people. It's that you're bombarded with just images of, all the wrong people. Images of all the wrong people and all the wrong things to do. And you become desensitized to a certain extent. You start thinking things are possible that aren't necessarily possible. Like, if you see a violent movie, when we used to have ratings, we used to have rated R, and you couldn't, like, the theater guy wouldn't even let you bypass if you were 13 years old. Now, like, these ratings for shows and TV and, movies, any child could have access to this violence.
Like, I don't know about that movie theater thing. I never went to the movie.
Oh, you never went to the movie theater?
Netflix is like the best $10 a month ever, because I never watched any movies. Like, it's amazing.
No, I'm talking about like when you're little, like when we were little, like the rating system meant something. Like it meant something. It lets you know that this is a bad production. This is not something your child should be watching. This has violence, nudity, and coarse language. Viewers' discretion is advised. That's what we heard. But now
we had standards back then.
We had standards. Is that why you asked me that question earlier on in the show? About standards?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, because I'm thinking, because I think I'm done with my my year of platonic friendships.
Oh.
I think I've healed. I think I'm good. I think I'm like,
You've healed.
I think I've healed. I think I'm like cool.
You're cool.
I think I'm good. Like, I think I'm
So now you're looking to set some standards for yourself?
looking to set some standards. Yeah.
Okay. So what are you thinking?
Well, I wanted to know what you were doing with your standard situations. Before
you share what your standard
Well,
situation
I don't even know what like standards to like. What standards? Like, I know what I don't want, and I know exactly what I don't want.
Of course.
But I don't know what I want
Based on experience.
Based on experience, but there's so many like from being platonic friends.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that there's so many options out there, and I'm just like I'm not willing to choose. I'm just kind of like
Like
go with
I
the flow.
said, as a woman, my standards are high, but at the same time, they're low. Like, they're high in that, I want someone who is somewhat educated, financially stable. Like, these things shouldn't be high. That's my point. This is why it's like, to me, these should be standard. Education, a good job, honesty, trust. Like, these things shouldn't be high standards.
These are things
versus
you things you shouldn't have to look for.
These should just be innate.
Yeah, these should be like, hey, you got your pass, right? Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah. But I find nowadays women have very low standards.
Wow.
I'm gonna say
Look
this
at
to my
you.
girls out there.
You're like low.
I work, because the thing is, I work with, and this is not necessarily people my age, because people who are 35, if you're single like me, like, you've given up, you're like, whatever, like, whatever comes along, either I'm gonna like it or I'm not gonna like it. I'm gonna put it to the side or I'm gonna invite it in for dinner. Like, we know what we're up to. But
Wow.
I find that young people, God love you and God bless your hearts, your standards of when it comes to choosing men, it's a little low. It's a little low. You're looking at looks. How cute is he? How nice is his hair? How nice is his outfit? Is his Instagram on point? Is his Snapchat on point? Oh, I snapped him and he didn't snap me back. Like, does that mean that he doesn't care about me? Does that mean I should change my whole situation?
Oh my goodness.
Because I didn't get the snap back.
What?
Like, I'm talking, and this goes out to, shout out to my girls at work. Because if you guys are listening, you know who I'm talking about right now. Like, the standards for love and for relationships and for sexual intercourse is low.
Wow, you went there, eh?
I went to sexual intercourse. That's what adults call it. We call
saying
it
the standards
sexual intercourse.
You're saying the standards are just like out the window, it's just like whatever.
It's like, oh, he batted his blue eyes at me. All right, hop into my pants.
And what's wrong with that?
No, you have to have some type of like benchmark for.
But we're in this like liberated like woman environment, which, I mean.
And I'm sure you're happy to take advantage of the liberated woman environment, JR. But I consider myself a liberated woman too, and I have a certain amount of standards for who I let into my lady garden. My lady garden. That's why I've been celibate for so long.
I don't know. Like, I remember having a conversation with like my buddies, and they were all like, they want, serious relationships. They want someone to settle down with, and they're like, that's not what these girls are about out here right now. Like, that's not their standards are looking for something else. And my experience has been completely different. I found girls that are just kind of like, no, I'm single, but I mean, if a guy came around and wasn't a jerk, or Bumble happened to not be full of losers.
Yeah, that's lowered some women's standards. Bumble. Did I tell you I bumbled once? I think I did.
I don't know, but I was out after my game this week, and we were talking about the girls were talking about Bumble, and I was like, oh my gosh! So like, the woman has to give the first move.
Yeah,
connect,
it's like Tinder, but the opposite. Like, women say yes to you, and if you like them, then you'll connect.
So for me, I was like, this is like easy street. Like, all you like, because we kind of broke it down, and we're like, hey, wait, the girl has said yes, I think you're cute, like by connecting with saying yes to the picture, right? Then she said hello because she has to start the conversation, right? All you have to do is say, "Hey, let's go grab some coffee," and you win.
But
Right? Like that would have been my
Bumble's
thought
like,
process.
hey,
right?
do you want to go like do it? I'm not gonna say the F word because my mom's listening. But you wanna go F?
I thought that was Tinder was for. I thought Bumble was a little bit more.
No,
from
Bumble
my
is the same. Bumble, you know what I think? Bumble just gives women a false sense of security. That's what I think Bumble does. Bumble's exactly like Tinder. It just gives women a false sense of security to make them think that they have power when they really don't. Because at the end of the day, if the guy doesn't like you, like you can't. There's nothing really like you can like him. And he could say he likes you, but if he doesn't really like you and you go on a date with him and you end up sleeping with him, he's the winner. He's the winner. What have you won? What have you gained? That's just another person you've given your lady garden to. He wins. So it's not created for women, to me, that have any kind of real standards. Like I'm sorry.
Whoa.
Like I said it and I meant it and I'm not taking it back. I tried online dating, and you can do the surveys and you could fill everything out and say this is what you want, this is what you need, but if you're not willing to, how do I say this?
Well, I can tell you right now, for you in particular, it's more. I feel that it's more like. You put all this, I've said this before probably on the podcast, you want all of this, but what do you have to offer?
And what have I said on the podcast? Nothing. And so I don't. I don't bother. I don't go there.
Okay, so that's the thing. You're not putting in the effort to put yourself in a position to get the person that you want. So for me, for example, I know the kind of person, I kind of have a general idea of the kind of person that I want. I know the kind of person that I don't want. And I know that where I was before, I would just attract the people that I don't want. So I had to put myself in a situation where I'm going to attract people that I do want, which means, building up seeing what standards those people want and making sure that I meet those types of standards. So for example, I want a good girl that's educated in my life. Well, that type of woman's going to want a guy that's educated and has his things together,
Yeah.
Had a conversation this week where it was like, it's okay. We talked about whether or not, for buying versus renting, right? And I was like, it's cool. Like I would have loved to live with my parents a little bit longer and possibly bought something. I really didn't want to buy anything, but bought something, or I could just gone on my own and just start living my life. And from a woman, if I'm trying to date women, how does it sound if I say, I'm 32 and I live with my parents versus I'm 32 and I live on my own?
Yeah, it's right? If they have standards, they're going to like the 32-year-old that lives on their own.
On his own, right?
If they have standards, because they're like, why are you 32 living with your parents? Like,
right?
What's that about? They're going to have questions.
Right, what's that about? Like, we have questions. So, I mean, yeah. That was cool.
No, but standards. It's just standard. Like you have to have a list. This is what I do. This is my advice to women out there who care to take it or who don't care to take it.
And give me some advice too. I'm trying to build a list of standards.
Here's my advice to you.
Yeah.
You get a pad of paper like you've got the one in front of you.
And I'm ready. I'm ready to do this.
And just put down your wants. All of your wants in a woman or in a man, be it their looks, be it the way, their education, their home life, their finances, whatever it is, whatever it looks like. Put down all of the things that make the ideal man or woman. Mm-hmm. Then every month or so, go back to that list and reread it. And as you grow as a person, some of the things on that list aren't going to matter very much. You'll notice, I want this person to have blue eyes.
Oh, see, I wouldn't even put that kind of stuff on a list. Like,
a young person might. I remember when I was younger, I wanted Prince Eric. I want him to have dark hair, green eyes. I want him to be 6'2". I wanted him to have a car. I wanted him to have money. I wanted him to have this, that, and the other.
Digger from young.
From time. So just go back to the list. That it's everything, anything you could possibly imagine. You want to have an avatar of him or her, what they look like, what they sound like, what they feel like. Put that on the list. And then every month go back and take off one thing. One thing that you think in your mind just doesn't really matter.
Nice teeth is staying on my list.
Nice teeth will stay on JR's list. He has a thing about nice teeth, guys. Yeah, but take one thing away every month that doesn't really matter. And then whittle that list down to maybe 10 things. And there you will have your standards.
Shoot, my list wasn't even, I'd struggle to put 10 things down on a list.
You struggle to put 10 things down?
I would struggle
to
put
low standards.
What do you mean? I don't have low standards. Well, because a lot of the things are like kindness. I'm not going to write kindness down on a piece of paper.
Why not? If you don't write it down, you might not get a person who's kind.
But those are I guess, okay, you're right.
You gotta will things into your life. You have to will things into your life. The power of positive thinking, my friend. Will things into your life. So if you want a tall, blonde drink of water, if you want, I don't know, like an Indian girl, I don't know, whatever you want. Just will it into your life.
Just will it into my life.
Will it into your life, but take away the things that just don't matter. That's my whole point. You want to take away those little things that shouldn't count, shouldn't even be a part. Excess sugar. Thank you. I'm drinking some right now. So if you want to get at me for saying if you have Bumble, you don't have standards, then you know what? Come at me. Because women, ladies, I'm about to get on Bumble. I'm about to say this to you, ladies. Online dating is a false sense of security. Men, at the end of the day, have the power in those situations. Okay. You want to find a man.
Hold on. We gotta continue this conversation. We gotta continue this conversation. No, we're not ending this right now. We gotta continue this. Forget this. No. Because here's the thing. The consensus is that men are pussies out there right now, right? So
men are pussies.
If you now say as a woman that online dating is useless, don't do it. You're gonna be a spinster. You're gonna be a cat lady. Like what's gonna happen to you?
I gave away my cat, so I'll be a crazy dog lady.
Oh my goodness!
I already gave away that pussy cat. So you won't be a spinster, but like go to a coffee shop. Just go outside. JR's outside. outside. He's handsome. You might bump into him. Just go outside. Don't go on Bumble or Tinder, any Grindr, any of those apps. eHarmony. They're all useless. They're all worthless. I did it. Like I said, I did it for a little while.
Yeah, but you're a loser. You're not willing to put the work in.
I was willing to put the work in.
No, you're not willing to put the work in. Like you're lazy. You're not willing to put the work in because there's a lot of people that have had success that on these platforms, and you can't knock it. The people that have actually put the work in do have success. You're just lazy.
No, I haven't.
Wait, you're not lazy?
I've set No, you know what it is? I've set a standard that I don't want to meet the man that I'm going to be with for the rest of my life on a computer. That's the standard that I've set. That's what I know now.
Okay, so you shouldn't push that standard. So don't push that standard on everybody. You should have led with that instead of telling people no. Online dating is terrible. You shouldn't do it. It's
one woman's opinion.
Yeah.
That online dating is not for me, and it doesn't necessarily, in one woman's opinion, work out for the best. But that's just one woman's opinion.
Okay, right now.
Okay,
now you can...
Now I can... Okay.
Go ahead.
With that said, if you guys want to talk to us about what's going on in Toronto, if you guys have opinions about that, the gun violence, and my heart goes out to the families of those 2 victims and the families of the 13 survivors of that shooting. But if you want to talk about what's going on in the city and share with us your opinions and your thoughts, or just send out some prayers to people, send us an email. If you want to talk about standards and what your standards are for men and for women, then also send us an email. So JR, tell them how they could reach us.
Absolutely. You can reach us at Dysh, DYSH, at daintydysh.com. That's DAINTYDYSH.com. You can also check out Onika and some of her writing and hear more of her opinions at onikadainty.com.
There's lots of opinions on there.
Absolutely. You can also check out us and, see things through our lenses by checking us out on Instagram at Best of Onika and Best of J.R. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts,
Give us a 5. You deserve 5.
thank you so much. We appreciate it. Please subscribe. Continue listening. We appreciate your support and your feedback. If you're listening to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, or any other platform, thank you so much. Subscribe. Give us a like. Give us some feedback. We truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. That is it for me right now.
All right. Well, that has been the dish of the day. I hope you liked it. And if you did, I want you to have yourselves a very, very, very happy hump day.